Welcome, everybody, my fellow beautiful, perfect people, to our moment of Accelebration, where we are accelerating. We are accelerating and celebrating at the same time. We call it Accelebration. I am your host, Timothy Noah, but you can call me Noah if you're feeling nice. And we are honored. We are so grateful to be graced with the presence of Debra Poneman today. So welcome, Debra. Hello.
Thank you, Noah. I am so excited to be here and especially to be here with you. You're one of my favorite people in this universe, and we get to spend time together.
Yes, we do. So Debra does not need an introduction, but let me entertain you for a moment as I read just a bit about Debra, how Debra has gotten here together with us today. So Debra Poneman has been on the spiritual path since the age of 18. She has studied at the feet of some of the greatest spiritual masters of our generation, teaching meditation since the early 1970s. She has studied metaphysical principles of how to create a life you love, a life of true success, for over 5 decades. She has taught meditation to thousands and principles of success to hundreds of thousands. But now, Debra, as you're with us today and today in this moment, you've been called to share something new, particularly our present shifting from a world about me to a world about we. And you so beautifully frame this and set up your new program with this concept and this program that you've just released, which is now in Humanity Stream. It's called Seeds for Your Soul, A Life Beyond Happy. And this is a brand new program, Debra. And in this, you share that we're in a world where the 100th monkey has washed its sweet potato and everyone is waking up. So can you please tell us what you mean by this, Debra?
Yes, and it's interesting because I just had a sweet potato for breakfast, but that's just those things happen. So many people know the story about some scientists. I think it was, I don't even know what it was, in some Pacific island where there are these little monkeys. And what they would do is they would eat their sweet potatoes raw, obviously, but they would be covered with sand. And then one little monkey started kind of cleaning the sweet potato and realizing that if he cleaned it with water, that when he ate it, it tasted so much better because there wasn't sand on it. So he showed his other little monkey friends, or she, I don't know if it's a he or she, showed his or her little monkey friends how to wash the sweet potato. And then they shared it with their friends, and they shared it with their friends. And what happened that the scientists noticed was that when the 100th monkey, and again, it wasn't necessarily the number 100, but when there was a critical mass of monkeys who washed their sweet potatoes, it gives me chills. Monkeys on the other side of the island started washing their sweet potatoes, and monkeys on other islands started washing their sweet potatoes. So they call it the 100th monkey effect. And the reason why I talk about it in Seeds for Your Soul is that for most of creation, of course, we cared about our fellow human being, but something has happened on our planet recently. I mean, I get emotional about it, and I don't know, I just can't help it. It's that we've really started caring about our fellow humans, and we've really realized that we can't be happy unless everyone is happy. And that one person's pain on the other side of the island is our pain, or on the other island is our pain. And I just want to share with you a story, something that happened to me when I was 13 years old. You know, it's interesting, in my bio, you said I started my spiritual quest when I was 18. And I thought actually 13. I started meditating when I was 18. I learned transcendental meditation. I went to become a TM teacher when I was 19. But when I was 13, I don't know if I've ever told you this story before. I was I was one of the cool girls, okay? I was never a mean girl, but I was one of the cool girls in my junior high. And the cool girls hung out on this picnic table at recess. We actually had a club, okay? And it was called the Cleftos because it was the clef sign, like the treble clef or whatever it is. That was our logo. So we were called the Cleftos, go figure. But one day we're sitting on our park bench, and another couple girls brought over a girl who was decidedly not cool and said to her, "We have a surprise for you. We're inviting you into the Cleftos." And I'm like, what's going on here? Because, nobody had talked about it. I would have loved to have her in, but and this girl's eyes lit up like we had just given her a gold brick. I remember it to this day. It was like she had these deep brown eyes and they just lit up. And she was like the happiest girl, maybe in the universe, definitely on that playground. And then those girls said, "We're just kidding. We would never invite you to be in the Cleftos." And I had my first spiritual experience because what happened was in my little 13-year-old world, I was in such shock, in such pain, because I actually felt her pain in my physiology. And when I felt her pain in my physiology, I saw the world as a matrix that was completely interconnected. This is like, I had never had anything like this happen. And I saw that her pain radiated out and vibrated and actually caused pain to every fabric in creation. And I also saw that her pain went back into the other girls and caused this incredible contraction and darkness inside of their physiologies. And I'm watching this like I'm watching a movie. And at that moment, I thought, if doing something so mean like that could cause pain to all of creation and 1,000 times multiplied back to the person who caused the pain, I am never going to consciously cause pain to another human being for the rest of my life. And I made that vow as a little 13-year-old on the playground of East Prairie School. Now, have I been perfect? Of course not. But I do remember the effect. And what we're finding now is that so many things are happening on the planet that are kind of inexplicable. How could, God, the creator, let these things happen? But we think that we're helpless. We find out about some man who's been wrongly incarcerated for a crime he didn't commit, but he's been in jail for 40 years for it. We hear about it and we just, the pain just hearing about it, but we think, well, what can we do? But what we have to know is that every action that we perform either causes light or darkness, either causes suffering or brings joy to the entire creation. And can I give you one other analogy about this?
Please.
Okay, so in Kabbalah, which is the Jewish mystical text, there's a story about this great rabbi. His name is Rabbi Ashlag. And he was talking to his students about how in creation, and this is hundreds of years ago, there is a battle going on between good and evil. And then he said to his students, "Go get me one of those scales of justice, like the Libra sign in the zodiac." That's Libra, right? So the scales of justice. And he says, "Put equal amounts of sesame seeds on either side of these scales." So the students did that. And he said, if this side is an age of enlightenment and this side is an age of destruction, an age of darkness, every time we do an act of kindness, an act of love, an act of caring, helping uh, somebody across the street in their walker, holding the door for somebody, a mom with a baby carriage, offering to babysit for somebody who needs a little relief because she's been home with the kids since COVID began. Every time you do an act of kindness, you're putting a sesame seed on the side of the scale that will tip the scales to an age of enlightenment. And every time you do something that hurts another individual, anger, greed, lie, steal somebody's reputation, that's stealing, steal somebody's happiness, that's stealing. Every time you do an act, you're putting a sesame seed on the side of the scale that's going to bring about an age of darkness. And then he said to his students, if there's a completely even balance on both sides, how many acts will it take to tip the scales one way or the other? And the answer, of course, is one. And how do we know that the act of kindness that we do isn't the one that's going to tip the scales to an age of enlightenment? So we don't need to feel helpless because every action we take can tip the scales and it affects everybody in creation. And of course, if you do something out of anger, if you do something that hurts another individual, you can always go back and ask for forgiveness. Most importantly, you could put your hand on your heart, stimulates the release of oxytocin, and forgive yourself. Say, I know you didn't mean to do that. You're doing the best you can, and you're doing a great job.
Yes, you are,
So
Deborah.
did I
Boy, this is
answer
just
the
spot on. Absolutely. And this is just spot on what you're sharing. Um, we're all familiar, I'm sure, with this, with the power that we have individually. And often it's taken to be that, I just need to work on myself and I don't need to worry about the people out there or that thing that's out there. And I'm just going to close off and focus on my own salvation, so to speak. And what you're sharing is just this new teaching that you're bringing forth, which, as you share, is just coursing through the cosmos, through the surface of this planet right now, which is that this is a collaborative venture, that we're all in this together, and we need to support each other. We need to, as you were sharing in your first module of this program, first teachings that led you into the success movement was the teacher sharing that in order to get wealth, in order to have wealth, you must give it to somebody. So just thank you for sharing this, Deborah. And I don't know if there's anything more you want to say about this concept.
Well, there's a lot that I could say about the concept, but um, I, I I think that what you were referring to is that when I became a meditation teacher. I taught meditation through the decade of the 70s, and towards the end of the 70s, I was introduced to this body of knowledge that's kind of the law of attraction, because I went to a an event. I was living in LA at the time, and it was at the what was it called? Learning Center or Learning something? I can't remember. It doesn't matter. And so this is 1980, and the guy's talking about the law of attraction. And he said that whatever we're vibrating, that's what we attract into our lives. So if we're always complaining about how poor we are, we'll never meet our soulmate, our life, is this and this, we're vibrating like that. And just like a tuning fork that's a B flat can't attract an F sharp to it, it repels the F sharp. If you're talking about how poor you are and you'll never get out of debt, you repel prosperity. If you're talking about how you'll never find your soulmate and you're too old or you're too young or you're too this or you're too that, you're repelling your soulmate because you can only attract what you're vibrating. And so I believe that what I was saying is that he also talked about, this gentleman, the first time I heard this concept, that the way to get wealthy is not only to raise your vibration by your thoughts and your words, but the other way that you could raise your vibration so that you can attract prosperity into your life is by wishing other people success and prosperity. Because you know what a lot of people tend to do? They see somebody has something that they would like and they speak ill of that person. Again, they're repelling that to come into their own life. So if somebody, maybe you'd like to be married, but every time you hear that, some woman is getting married, you go, I don't know, why would anybody like her? She's such a, bitch, or whatever you say about that. What you're doing is you're not hurting her. She's happy, as my mother would say, she's happy as if she's in her right mind. But what you're doing is you're pushing that away from your own experience. So, and then the other way to become prosperous is not only wishing people success and prosperity, but also helping them, helping them. And, in the body of knowledge that I teach, I say that there are like many different ways to raise your vibration, and that's the most important thing. But I'm not saying that you also don't take action. So one of the actions you might want to take is mentoring other people. Maybe go into an area where the type of knowledge that you take for granted, maybe even just how to balance your finances or understand how to build a startup. Go into these underserved neighborhoods and teach the kids who don't get that kind of education, that are just doomed to, work at $10 an hour jobs. Go in and mentor them. So you share the wealth, you share your knowledge. And that is, the name of my program is A Life Beyond Happy. And we all know, I don't have to tell you, that the bigger house and the higher end Tesla is not going to bring you happiness. We don't have to watch one more big celeb with millions and hundreds of millions, in some case dollars, take their own life because they're so miserable. We get it. That is not the way that you are going to be happy. But the way you're going to be happy is by creating happiness first. Then you can enjoy those things because you don't think that they're the source of your happiness. They're just toys that you're having fun playing with. So what you want to do is create the happiness inside first. And what I teach is that there are different ways that you can become more successful. And of course, success is inner success first. And the first thing that I believe is the absolute basis to success is to do your spiritual practices. The great teacher Amaji, the hugging saint, her. You ever gotten a hug by Amaji?
Not
So
yet.
she says, not yet. Well, it's something to look forward to. She says that the that we must cling, it's a quote, we must, at this time, we must cling to our spiritual practices so that when the world shakes, we remain unshakable. And our spiritual practices, meditate every day. Obviously, I've been a meditation teacher for 50 years. I don't think I've missed a day in 50 years. I know that that is the foundation to my life. I know that that is why I have silence no matter what happens. And believe me, stuff happens. It's just like a ship on the ocean. Storms are going to come, typhoons are even going to come. But if you are anchored, that ship is anchored to the silent depths of the ocean, it's not going to, be thrown over by the high waves. And it's same thing with us. If we're anchored to the silent depths of ourselves, we're not going to be thrown by life's typhoons and life's storms. So the first thing that people have to do is find a spiritual practice that works for you, whether it's meditation, whether it's breath. I do the breathing practices that I learned through the Art of Living Foundation, and I feel that they are absolutely, in my life, I don't go a day without doing my breath practices. Again, it brings silence. It brings immovability in the face of what's going on our planet right now. We need those things. But maybe for you, it's doing your rosary. Maybe for you, you go to your church and you pray and you commune with God. Maybe it's prayer every day, just as long as you do it systematically. Maybe it's walking the labyrinth. Maybe it's drumming. Maybe it's ecstatic dancing. Just as long as it's a systematic practice that you do every day. The other thing that we can do to live a life beyond happy is that we can do energetic practices. So, what are energetic practices? Well, a lot of us are doing them already. I'm just giving them a name. It's like, for example, wishing somebody success and prosperity. That's an energetic practice that's going to bring more happiness into your inner life. It's forgiveness. And I could tell you story after story of people who have forgiven the unforgivable. And they do it because it brings them freedom. Until they forgive, they're bound by that person. They're bound by that energy of lack of forgiveness. But you know, the expression, when you forgive, you set the prisoner free and you realize the prisoner was you. I was actually just reading something about this woman who, her son was killed. And it was crazy because it was just, they were two friends and they got in the fight, and it got so escalated that one of the kid just shot her son. Her son's name was Robbie, and this kid Sean, and she didn't know Sean, but she, needless to say, was devastated, was heartbroken, and she wasn't allowed to see this kid. But on the day of the trial, the first time she saw him, she saw this little boy. He was 16, in this big oversized orange jumpsuit, just come into the courtroom with shackles on his ankles and his wrists. And then afterwards, she was still mad at him, but afterwards she asked the bailiff, I guess it is, if she could go talk to him. And she was going to say, I don't care, because she saw tears on his face. I don't care who you are. You took my son's life. And she walked in and she saw this little boy just sobbing in the corner, just sobbing and sobbing. And she realized that his life was ruined too. And she thought, I'd rather my Robbie be where he is than to be incarcerated for the rest of your life, like is happening to this little boy. And instead, she went up to him and she said, Sean, can I give you a hug? And she just held him while he sobbed. Is there anybody in your life that you're not forgiving that is causing you to not be free? So, another energetic practice would be forgiveness if you want to live a life beyond happy. No, there are so many things that we can do. Some fun ones are, again, when you see somebody who has something that you want, you could just look at it and say, that's for me. It's a fun little energetic practice that we do, but there are all kinds. But then another thing that I believe that we all need to do to live a life beyond happy, besides spiritual practices and energetic practices, is to be engaged in activism. But to borrow a name from Andrew Harvey, great author. He calls it sacred activism. So it's activism based on love, not activism based on hate. The great teacher Sri Sri Ravi Shankar says, no action taken in anger will ever result in anything good. And so we do want to be activists. We do want to fight against injustice, but we want to fight. We want to come from a place of love in our hearts and not hate in our hearts. So it's like Mother Teresa, when somebody asked her if she would go to the anti-war rally, she said, no. When you hold a pro-peace rally, I'll be there. So sacred activism is not being against anything or pushing against anything. It's not pushing against war. It's for peace. It's not pushing against hate. It's for love. So that is another thing that we all have to do, which is to come from a place of activism that is steeped in love. There's this quote, there's another quote from, I know, Martin Luther King, where he says, darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can. So we have to raise our vibration to a vibration of love, and only then will we be able to drive out hate and to create the world that we all want.
Yes, we do, Deborah. Thank you. Boy, what a powerful sharing you have. And this course that you're speaking about, this Seeds for Your Soul, A Life Beyond Happy, it's loaded with all these tidbits that you share. And I find myself, I was just watching it this morning, and I'm just all amped up. I'm just ready to launch on sacred activism and launch on the ideas that are coming forth and the inspirations that are coming to. So thank you for sharing this. And before we go into a video clip from this program, I just want to share with you, we have a bunch of viewers in our room, Deborah, and one of the comments from our audience, Joanne, says, I can relate to this at a deep level, and I felt the same way, injured within. Thank you for bringing this up. It is powerful. So thank you, Joanne, for sharing, and thank you, Debra, for sharing the inspiration. And Jim, if you don't mind, let's go into a clip where Debra had graced us with an example from Kabbalah earlier, and this is another example, Kabbalistic teaching that Debra shares with us in this Seeds for Your Soul program.
Here, my friends, is what I know for sure. The obstacle, the challenge, the pain might as well have a sign on it that says, "This is what you incarnated for. This is what you came here for. This is why you're on this earth at this time." There's a concept in Kabbalah, which is the Jewish mystical text, also called Kabbalah, that we didn't incarnate by chance, but for a reason. And that reason is tikkun. And tikkun means to correct or repair. So what are we here to correct? Well, it's not that there's anything wrong with us, but as I said in module 1, we each come here with baggage from previous lifetimes. All the situations where we didn't complete something with someone or get it right or gain the wisdom. So we incarnate to get it right this time. Have you ever wondered why it is that each of us have such distinct challenges in our lives, and that sometimes it's so easy to see what other people need to work on, what they came here for, but we can't seem to see what our tikkuns are? Some of us came in with tikkuns around money. For some, money just seems to practically grow on trees, but they just keep struggling with their relationships. Some have all the money and the loving relationships, but their health is a challenge. If you can't speak up for yourself, that's one of your tikkuns that you came here to correct. If you feel like you're going to die if you speak your truth, that's what you didn't get right last time. If you keep marrying the same man who treats you badly or doesn't love you, that's your tikkun. If you keep getting yourself in financial messes, that's your tikkun. Do you find it hard not to lie or exaggerate? Do you have an addiction? Do you feel that people don't listen to you or respect you? Why is that? Why is it that whatever you do, these same people keep showing up in your life in different bodies? It's because it's your tikkun, and they don't have to change. You do. And if you don't know what your tikkun is, and we all have many, I can tell you, it's whatever scares you. It's what you run away from. It's whatever you accept in your life that you should not be accepting. It's what frustrates you. It's all the people in your life who keep showing up in different forms and abusing you or taking advantage of you or trying to love you. The secret to living in the light of grace is changing our behavior patterns that make up our tikkuns. And with this understanding, you can no longer be a victim or blame other people or make excuses or get mad at God. These situations are your gift from the Creator. We didn't come here to have everything handed to us on a silver platter. If there were nothing for us to learn, we wouldn't have taken a human birth. And there you have it. I can't hear you.
It would help if I turned my microphone on, wouldn't it? Sorry. So I was saying, this is beautiful, Debra. Thank you for sharing. This is from your Seeds for Your Soul program. It's brand new on Humanity Stream Plus. So can you tell us a bit more about this concept that you're presenting from a Kabbalistic point of view? How do we transform tough situations into opportunities to grow?
Well, there's so many ways, but I think, like, I'll just expand on what I said there. It's like every situation that is a challenge, we should just look at it as it's all wrapped up with the wrapping paper and a pretty bow, because it's what you came here for. See, we didn't come here, I'm going to repeat myself a little bit, to have our lives handed to us on a silver platter. It's kind of like, so the Super Bowl was recently, and if the two teams of one of the teams came out on the field, and the team that was waiting to play against them was a junior high school football team. What would the victory feel like if they won that Super Bowl? It would not be too fulfilling. And it's the same thing in our lives. The challenges that we're faced with in our lives, those are the formidable foes. But we chose to face those things in this lifetime. Everybody came here with different cocoons, things they needed to repair. Again, I have a lot of friends that have easy time with money. Money is just flowing to them, but man, they just cannot get it right with relationships. Well, that's your cocoon. What are you doing wrong? Why are you not letting people love you? Why are you not letting yourself be vulnerable? Do you know the work of Brene Brown, where she says that the greatest fear that people have is not snakes or spiders or even death, but going through life not having deep connections to other people, right? But unfortunately, what keeps people from having deep connections with others is their second greatest fear, and that is being seen, being vulnerable, doing things like saying, I made a mistake. Will you forgive me? Or, yes, I did say that behind your back, and I'm really sorry. That was not the smartest thing, and I love you, and I apologize. It's so or ask for people's help, or ask for, the love that you want from your partner. Be real, be vulnerable, be honest. But that is so scary for people. So instead, what they do is they block their feelings, they deaden their feelings. I mean, the extreme is like being addicted to drugs or being an alcoholic, but there are people who block their feelings by being workaholics or eating food. Every time they're about to feel an emotion, they find themselves in front of the refrigerator. If we would just allow ourselves to be vulnerable, then we would open up to God's grace. So some people, their cocoon is they're so afraid to be seen. But the truth is about facing your cocoon, which are those things that we came on earth, we incarnated to face and to overcome. If you would just do it, I say it's like, remember the first time you ever dove off a high dive or even jumped off the high dive? Remember, you walked to the end and you look down and then you walk back. Then you walk to the end again and then finally just, okay, I'm going to do it. You just ran off the high dive, held your nose. It wasn't a big deal when you landed. It's the same thing in this lifetime. All you have to do is hold your nose and dive off the diving board of life. Let yourself be vulnerable. And what you're going to find is just like it wasn't a big deal when you dove off the diving board, you're going to find that on the other side of facing your cocoon, everything you want, all of the grace of the Creator, the God of your understanding, is waiting for you. That's all that you're expected to do in this lifetime. So the next time you're faced with a biggie, and what are your cocoons? Anything that scares you, right? We run away from those things that scare us because we think they're going to disappear if we run away from them. I've been telling this story recently that my second husband, who I love with all my heart, he's like one of really and truly the greatest people on this entire planet. But I knew after we'd been married maybe 10, maybe 15 years that I loved him, but I didn't like the institution of marriage. I kind of didn't want to be married. Would rather just be friends with him. And I stayed for another 12 years because I was afraid to face my cocoon. And my cocoon was, I thought it was that I didn't want to hurt his feelings because he's such a wonderful man. But I finally got real with myself and I realized it wasn't him that I didn't want to hurt. It was my discomfort. I hate disharmony. I hate being uncomfortable. So I stayed in a marriage 12 more years to protect myself from discomfort. But and the truth is that as soon as I did it, I've been much happier. I have been so much freer. He found a wonderful woman who loves him like he deserves to be loved, and it's the happiest relationship of his life. And so we have to, this is the time, everyone. This is the time. You know, we have so much help from our guides and our angels and from the God of our understanding, from the ancestors. The veil is so thin right now. Have you noticed how your communication with your guides and your higher self is becoming so much more spontaneous because the veil is so thin right now? And because of the situation in the world, our guides and our helpers are just saying, please call on me. You know, there's so many books on I actually have one right here. You know, Hiring the Heavens is a great book. I have so many books on communicating with angels, and they all say the same thing. They say your angels are waiting to support you, but you have to call on them out loud. That's basically the essence of the book. Call on them out loud. Call on the angel of, and in the medical medium, they have a great section on how to call on your angels. When I'm writing, if I'm writing a talk, I just call on the angel of, it's not the angel of writing, the angel of wisdom. I call on the angel of wisdom out loud to come and help me write this presentation. Actually, the angel of wisdom just helped me find that word. And your angels so want to help you. They're just chomping at the bit, but they can't come uninvited. So you have to invite them in. And also in Hiring the Heavens, they talk about, like, if you're going on a trip, call on the angel who is the angel who is the travel agent angel, and say, please create this trip to be fun and effortless and everything go magically well and more fun and wonderful things that we could possibly imagine happen. Call on those angels and the travel agent angel, and they are so happy because that's what they're here for, but we have to invite them. So anyway, back to facing our cocoons. We get the picture. It's what we came here for. I'll tell you one other thing about cocoons. So everything you want, you wouldn't have a desire if you did not have the complete capability of fulfilling that desire. The creator is not a trickster. The creator is not a meanie. The creator wouldn't say, here's your desire, but ha ha ha, I'm not going to give you the ability to fulfill it. No, we live in a benevolent universe with benevolent energies to support our desires. Okay. So everything that we want it's right there. It's just outside our reach. So if this is us, if this is all of us down here on earth, I'll put my hand here so you could see it. This is all of us. Hi, everybody. And there's this light of grace that shines on all of us. And this light of grace doesn't just shine on one type of person. It doesn't just shine on Black people and not white people or old people and not young people. Just like the sun shines on everybody. But we can block the sun. We can put up an umbrella and then no sun will come on us. We can go and live in a bunker and die of vitamin D deficiency because no sun can come on us. Or we can put our face to the sun. And it's same with the light of grace. So if the light of grace is there to illuminate us and show us, yes, here's your soulmate. Here's all of the money that you want. Here's your ideal career. It's just right within your grasp. Why am I not seeing it? It's because we're shrouded in darkness. It's because we're blocking the light of grace. How do we block the light of grace? Well, by not eliminating facing our cocoons. So when we ask for help, when we open our heart, when we are vulnerable, when we do the tough thing, we remove veil between us and the light of grace. So then more of that grace could illuminate us. I mean, there are other things that you can do to unblock the light of grace. Every time you do an act of kindness, just let somebody in traffic and it removes the veil between you and the light of grace. When you have a choice to make where you can do the mean thing or the kind thing, choose the kind thing and it removes the veil between you and the light of grace. And the more, when you do your meditation, it removes veils between you and the light of grace. When you engage in spiritual activism, it removes to do good for the world, work for nonprofits, do support those organizations that are doing good work in the world. It removes a veil between you and the light of grace. And eventually that light of grace can completely shine on you uninhibited. And then you see, oh, there's my soulmate. You just bump into him in a cafe, or there's my ideal job. You just get offered, you're at a dinner with people you don't know, and you start talking. They say, my company's looking for somebody just like you. It's because the light of grace is now completely illuminating in everything in your life. It's so simple.
We certainly make it simple, Debra. And I love, just for the audience, what you're feeling now, like Debra, how you make it so exciting for us to face our fears, this thing that we've maybe pushed off for a long time because we're hesitating or we're fearful, we don't want to offend somebody, whatever it may be. You're inviting us to see it as this wonderful opportunity. So it's just completely transformed, even though it's the same situation. And again, we watching these modules is just, you're getting like just a full dose of this, to just go into your life and face all these cocoons, which, as we're establishing, have this ripple effect on every other aspect of our own lives and everyone else's life.
And that's why, I mean, the 6 modules, this is one of my favorite things I have ever created, this Seeds for Your Soul, Life Beyond Happy, because the first module, I ask you to ask yourself, what seeds are you planting? Because if you're planting seeds of anger, of bitterness, of blame, of shame, of control, then don't expect to have sunshine, lollipops, and roses in your life. Ain't gonna happen, right? If you plant an apple seed, you can't expect to get a papaya tree. So what we want to just be really clear about is, you want to plant the seeds for what you want to reap in your life, okay, energetically and in every other way. And one of the other modules is to help you get clear on what your role is on planet Earth. And if you're listening to this today, or if you're listening to something like Seeds for Your Soul, it's because you are here to make a contribution. There are other, I'm telling you this, everybody's listening. There are people who are waiting for you to start getting going on your contribution to this planet. You know what you want to do. You know what you were born to do. But there's all these reasons and these excuses. Really, the world is not in great shape, and the world needs the message and the knowledge and whatever the business is or the course you want to teach, that only you can bring in the words that you can bring it. People say, oh, they want to start teaching about self-love. Oh, but there are thousands of people teaching about self-love. No, there are probably hundreds of thousands teaching about self-love, but they're not you. And there are people who incarnated on this planet because their life is supposed to be touched and transformed by you, and they are waiting patiently. So, if I always say that an idea comes to you because you are the one who is supposed to manifest it. I don't have the idea to teach to, start something called Humanities Team. If you look on Humanities Team, on Humanities Stream, there are so many different people. I mean, talking about cooking, talking about how to get publicity, talking about how to consciously uncouple, how to have great sex, do you want on great sex? Maybe you should if you don't. How to, use music to transform. There's so many great programs. It's probably the best library of its kind on the planet. And I didn't have the thought to teach how to have great sex. I'd like to learn from somebody. I didn't have the thought how to transform life by music. I'd like to learn from the people who do it. But you get an idea because you're the one who's supposed to bring it forth on the planet. The creator didn't give it to me, the creator gave it to you. But guess what? All of those people who are waiting patiently for you, if you wait too much longer, they're just going to have to go somewhere else to get this knowledge. Don't wait until everything is perfectly in place. Oh, I'm going to do it when the kids go back to school. Oh, I'm going to do it when I get the divorce. I'm going to do it when I get the inheritance. I'm going to do it when I move. I'm going to, and then you're on your deathbed and you haven't done it yet. There are people whose contract in this lifetime is to have their lives transformed by you. Don't wait until everything is perfectly in place because it's never going to happen. We live in a relative universe and there are always going to be loose ends. So you just have to take a step. I say take a step from which there's no turning back. When I decided to teach Yes to Success, I was 28 years old. I had never done anything in my life except teach meditation. I was broke. I was driving a beat up old Chevy Bel Air that my aunt had left me when she died, 10 years old, full of dents. And I decided I was going to start a success seminar company. But if I had waited until I got the Mercedes, which I had a few years later because I used the principles that I taught, if I had waited until everything was perfectly in place, I wouldn't be here today. You just have to take that step from which there is no turning back. And for me, I rented a room and I put up posters that said, Debra, my name was Olson at the time, Debra Olson, to speak about how our mind creates our reality. And this was 1980, what, 20 years before The Secret had allowed that concept to become a household concept. And, but I did it. And by the way, another concept that I always teach people is if you have a dream, don't start telling people what you're going to do. When it's a tiny seed that could easily be crushed, wait until you make some substantial progress towards it. So it's a strong little plant because when you share it with people too soon, you run the risk of bumping up against what I call the discouragement committee, all those people who are going to tell you why your idea won't work. And then the discouragement committee crushes your idea before it's even gotten a chance to sprout. So let that seed sprout first. And then when nobody can crush it, then you can share it with other people. And I didn't tell a soul what I was going to do when I started my Yes to Success company. I worked on it for 6 months and nobody knew about it except for my then wonderful husband who was very supportive. But so don't share your cherished dreams. You know, what is sacred should be kept secret. And then when you're ready to have it burst onto the scene, then you can share. And then if the discouragement committee shows up, which they did when I put up my posters, they're like, no one's going to believe a crazy idea like your thoughts create your reality. But the posters were already up. So the discouragement committee, it couldn't affect me. And when I walked into the room, there was standing room only. So just a little concept to throw out there. And back to my program, Seeds for Your Soul. So I talk about your role on planet Earth. I also talk about obstacles. I have a whole module on obstacles and why obstacles are our greatest gift. And then I also have a module on the temple of your body. Because if you want to live a life beyond happy, you need to know those things to do to create a body of light. And it's funny that in the middle of Seeds for Your Soul, I talk about like diet, but you know what? I mean, how are you going to get clear messages from your higher self, the God of your understanding, the angels, your guides, if you just had a big juicy steak and a pitcher of beer and a big bowl of, I don't know, bread pudding. I don't know where bread pudding came from, but I don't think I've ever eaten bread pudding. Or if you had some like beautiful green drink, high vibration, fresh, fresh, fresh. So I talk about ways to transform your body into a light body so that you can easily get those downloads and be more in tune with those energies who want to speak to you and are there to help you. Anyway, it's a great program, and I can't even remember the other the other modules, but they are really good.
They are, and we'll post a link for you to see. You can see all the modules on Humanity Stream. Deborah, we have a bunch of people with questions. I'd like to pull in from our Humanity Stream community. We have a couple of people with a raised hand that they'd like to come on and ask a question for you. So Jim, go ahead.
Yay.
Let's see you first. There we go.
There
Hey,
we go.
Teresa.
Hey,
Teresa.
Hello, this is so exciting. My Success Saturday, every Saturday.
I stopped being able to hear. Did I freeze?
No, we had a malfunction here. Sorry, everybody.
Sorry.
I want that one.
Her video is
to come
frozen.
back.
Okay. Teresa, well, I don't know if you heard her, Deborah, but she was saying she tunes into you every week. So maybe we can bring her back, but
Hi,
we have other people with the
Teresa.
hand raised.
Thank you,
If we have somebody else,
Teresa.
Jim.
Well, I'm sorry I didn't get to say I love you, Teresa. Thank you for tuning in on Saturdays. Mwah. Now I know what you look like.
Here's Dawn. Welcome, Dawn. Deborah.
Hi, thank you. First, thanks for the wonderful wisdom, Deborah. That's love, of course, is very king here. My concern is that I have 7 wonderful grandkids and 4.5 great grandkids. The 5th is on the way. And we have 3 major species-ending problems in the world today. My area of expertise is nuclear weapons. We have global warming, and we have pollution. Do you have some thoughts about how we take your mission, which is at a high level, to the penthouse, which is what can we do from your perspective to make our world safe for our loved ones?
Well, the first thing I have to say is I'm hearing myself twice. Are you hearing me twice?
Maybe we put her.
I'm hearing Noah twice also.
There we go. This should be better.
So,
Deborah, sorry about that.
Okay, but I'm going to answer Don. First of all, Don, I think Noah said your name is Don. Thank you so much for the work that you do. Thank you. Also, congratulations on all those kids and grandkids. And I know one of the reasons you're doing what you're doing is because you want to leave your kids and grandkids and great grandkids a better world. And I'm so glad you asked that question, because what I teach, you said it's on a high level. I think you mean a energetic level. What I teach is that everything is energy, just like the butterfly flapping its wings, which I know you're familiar with, affects everything on the planet, right? So what I teach is for people to raise their vibration, because the negative vibration of many people is going to cause negativity on the planet. I'm sure you saw the movie What the Bleep, and what they discovered, and the scientists actually confirmed, is that however you see the world, you actually create that. So if you see the world as a fearful place, you create that. So I believe that we have to work on 2 levels. I am all about activism. I am all about, working for climate change. I'm all about resistance and peaceful resistance. But the thing that I say, and I said it earlier, is that we have to realize that every person does the best that they can. And what I used to do is I would look at a politician on the TV and I'd go like that. I won't even use the words because this is a PG program here. And I like, and first of all I'm doing is bringing him into my body, which makes me less effective, which makes me an angry person. Just doing that because I pictured somebody and I did that, and now I feel that person's energy in my body, and I feel angry right now. I do. I feel like tense right now. We can't do that. We can't afford to do that right now. So what we have to do is what I say, I call it one good thing. We look at that person on the TV and we watch as little TV as we possibly can just to be informed. We want to be informed, but don't, I mean, people who watch the news all day long, please, my friends, don't do that to yourself. We need you to be a high vibration body of light in on the planet right now. But what I say is if you do happen to see somebody who tweaks you on the TV, stop and find one good thing you could say about them. And then you're giving their energy back to them. You're not taking it into your body. And also, you're raising the vibration on the planet, just like the scales of justice. And at the same time, do the work that you're doing. You know, we think of all of these incredible politicians who are loving, who are kind, who are working. I'm going to be working on Stacey Abrams' campaign. I know, and they're probably different people of different political persuasions, but I love her because I happen to know we have a lot of mutual friends that she's a kind and a gentle and a loving soul. We need that energy, but also fierce. You know, there is that a book by Andrew Harvey that's called Sacred Activism, and he talks about how, and on the cover is Kali, you know, Kali from um, uh, Hindu mythology or cosmology, and she's riding on a tiger, and she's like, you know, she's fierce like that. We need to be Kali, but we also know that what Kali wants to do is destroy darkness. She's the destroyer of darkness to bring in the light. So I'd say, please work for a political campaign, run for political office, work for to stop nuclear proliferation, work to end climate change. Please, please, what a great way to dedicate your life. No one knows what I did for my birthday party. I instead of having people give me presents, I had a big Zoom birthday party with hundreds of people, and I presented 7 nonprofits who are doing great work on the planet. So don't give me another sweater or another necklace or another, you know, bunch of flowers. I don't need those. What I do need is for people to support organizations that are, most of my organizations I work with are helping our youth, educating our youth in Haiti, in Nepal, in the inner city of Chicago, in the inner city of Atlanta. Those are the organizations I work with. So you have to be an activist. Absolutely. You cannot live for yourself alone. That's how Noah started out this whole thing. It's no longer the time of me. It is the time of we. Our earth is so small now. You know, we think if we don't recycle or if we, you know, have some gas guzzling car, well, I'll drive what I want to. Well, no, no, because you are affecting my grandchildren. So we have to be aware. And again, thank you so much for the work that you do. I bow down to you and keep going.
Thank you, Don, for the question. Thank you, Debra, for such a wonderful response here. And Debra, we only have a couple of minutes left. You hinted at this birthday celebration, which, of course, anybody who knows Steve Farrell with Humanities Team, he celebrates birthdays for a month. So you're still in the birthday month, Debra.
Yeah.
And you had this wonderful gathering where you're focusing on all these nonprofits. That would you mind just focusing on one of these and how they could contribute to this?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I would love to. By the way, I know we have to end at the top of the hour, but I feel badly if there are other people who had questions. I'm giving such long answers and I'm not able to answer their questions. I don't know what to do about that, but
It's there are many questions, Debra, but fortunately, a lot of these questions you're just answering as you're talking about other
okay.
things. So thank you.
Okay, very good. But I just want to say to all the people who asked the questions, I love you guys and thank you for being on. Okay, my birthday. So what I discovered about my birthday, I never like to celebrate birthdays because I'm like, what did I do? I mean, it's not like I accomplished anything. I just grew a year older. So then I had this epiphany that what people, why birthdays are great to celebrate is because people want to give. They want to express their love for you. And if you don't let them celebrate you, then you're hurting them. So let people celebrate you on your birthday. So that was the epiphany I had, but I thought, but I still don't want presents. So I came up with this idea. If you really want to make me happy on my birthday, if you really love me, help by supporting my nonprofits. And oh, there's so many, but one, because we just had a board meeting yesterday, I work with an organization called Aid Still Required. Aid Still Required. And why it's called that is because when a natural disaster happens and the Red Cross is there for about 10 minutes and other organizations while the cameras are rolling, then they leave, but aid is still required. That's when we go in and we rebuild schools and we rebuild lives. We've actually, we have 5 schools that we've built. We're actually working on our 6th, and it's in Haiti, after we started after the earthquake over 10 years ago. And we have and we also rescue orphans, and our first group of orphans that we rescued from just horrific conditions are now going off to college. So the work is aid still required. You can go on our website and see some of the work that we do, and all donations. We take no money here in the States, not a penny. We all are volunteers, every one of us. Every penny goes to give microloans to women, rescue orphans, build schools, etc. Bring medical care to communities that never have seen a doctor, and we've saved many lives, and you can help us.
And what is the website, Debra? Is it aidstillrequired.org or?
Yes. Aid still
Excellent.
required. Thank you for asking.
Thank you, Debra, and again, this is come on, this is a success principle. In order to have, we must give. So if you're feeling generous today, check out aidstillrequired.org and see what they're doing. And Debra, boy, thank you for spending this hour with us. It's been a blast and just so inspiring. I know I could speak for all of our audience. It's like I'm feeling, what am I afraid of today? Because I'm just going to face it. I'm going to correct these things. I'm going to help change the world. So thank you for being with
Well,
us.
and thank you for being such a great host. And thank you to Humanity's team for all of the incredible work and transformation that you're bringing to this world. One of my favorite organizations run by my favorite people. So love to you, Noah.
Love to you too. And again, we'll be back next week. Jim will show us who we will be featuring next week shortly. And we wish you a wonderful weekend and a beautiful, beautiful eternal moment here now. Love you all and God bless.